When most people think about success, they search for a map. They want a step-by-step guide, a formula, a guarantee. But here's the truth. You don't need a map because you are the path. Every decision, every action, every moment of courage you take creates the very road you're meant to walk. Waiting for the perfect roadmap keeps people stuck. They think, once I have the plan, once I know the steps, then I'll move. But life doesn't reward hesitation. Life rewards movement. The moment you take action, the ground forms beneath your feet. The path doesn't show up before you walk, it shows up because you walk. You've been given something far greater than a map. You've been given instincts, vision, resilience, and an imagination powerful enough to carve a road where no road exists. You've been built with the ability to rise, to adapt, to redirect, and to create. A map will only ever show you where someone else has been. But you are here to go where no one has gone. We live in a world that conditions us to believe that certainty is the ultimate prize. From the time we're young, we're told to have a plan, to know the outcome, to be sure before we leap. But the truth is, certainty is an illusion. The people who wait for certainty before acting are the same people who remain stuck, trapped in hesitation, living in the shadow of their potential. The need for absolute clarity before moving is the very thing that paralyzes greatness. Think about it. When you're standing at the edge of a decision and your mind whispers, wait until you're sure. What it's really doing is chaining you to the ground. That voice is the voice of fear disguised as logic, and while you wait, time keeps moving. Opportunities slip away. Life does not slow down for the one who hesitates. Life rewards the one who dares to step even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. The pursuit of certainty is often just another name for the pursuit of safety. But safety doesn't stretch you. Safety doesn't awaken your true self. Safety keeps you locked inside a box that was never designed to hold your potential. You were not born to play it safe. You were born to step into the fire of uncertainty and discover that you can walk through it stronger than before. Every extraordinary life you admire, every trailblazer, every pioneer, they all had one thing in common. They moved before they were ready. They acted without certainty. They understood that life is not about following a pre-drawn map. It's about carving your own way into the unknown. And the moment they embraced uncertainty, they unlocked a power within themselves that certainty could never give them. What holds most people back isn't lack of resources. It isn't lack of opportunity. It's their addiction to certainty. They keep waiting for that one guarantee that will never come. They think, once I know for sure, I'll start the business. Once I know it won't fail, I'll take the leap. Once I know it's the right move, I'll go all in. But the irony is that certainty only comes after action, never before it. If you want a different life, you must be willing to play in the arena of uncertainty. That's where the growth is. That's where the magic is. That's where your transformation begins. Certainty is like a cage that looks safe but slowly suffocates you. Uncertainty is the wilderness where you find out what you're truly made of. And here's the paradox. The moment you let go of your obsession with certainty, you begin to feel a deeper kind of certainty, the certainty in yourself. Not the certainty of outcomes, but the certainty of identity. You may not know where the road leads, but you know that you can handle whatever shows up. That's real power. That's the kind of certainty that no circumstance can take away from you. When you stop chasing certainty, you stop waiting, you stop delaying, you stop bargaining with your future. You begin moving, and momentum becomes your ally. You may stumble, yes. You may fail, yes. But failure is not the opposite of certainty. Failure is the path to clarity, and clarity is worth infinitely more than the illusion of a perfect plan. Imagine yourself standing on a path where the road ahead is foggy. You can't see more than 2 steps forward. If you refuse to move until you see the entire way, you'll never go anywhere. But if you trust yourself to take those first 2 steps, the fog clears just enough to reveal the next 2. That is how life unfolds. One bold step at a time. The people who live extraordinary lives are not those who had the clearest maps. They are the ones who were willing to walk with no map at all, guided only by their hunger, their vision, their faith that they would figure it out along the way. And they did, not because they were special, but because they stopped waiting for certainty. The need for certainty keeps you trapped in someday, Someday I'll take the leap, someday I'll start the dream. Someday I'll live differently, but someday it never comes. The clock is ticking, life is happening. The question is not whether the path will appear. The question is whether you will step forward without needing to see it first. When you embrace uncertainty, you discover creativity you didn't know you had. You discover strength you didn't know existed. You discover resources that were invisible until you moved. It's only in motion that the pieces align. Standing still waiting for certainty is like staring at the locked door while the key is already in your pocket. Stop searching for certainty. Stop waiting for the guarantee. Life is not a contract with perfect terms. It is an adventure. An adventure by its very nature means risk, unpredictability, and the unknown. But within that unknown lies the only thing that truly matters: your growth, your breakthroughs, your destiny. From the very beginning, you've been told to look outside yourself for the answers. Teachers, leaders, bosses, even loved ones, all offering guidance, rules, and paths. And while some of that guidance can be useful, the danger is this: you start believing that the answers live out there instead of in here. You start thinking you need someone else's permission, someone else's map, someone else's formula. But the truth is you are already equipped. You already carry the tools, the fire, and the capacity to carve your own way. Deep inside, there's a voice that knows you are capable. But over time, that voice gets drowned out by fear, by doubt, by the noise of the world. You begin to forget. You begin to wonder if maybe you're not enough, if maybe you're missing something essential. That's a lie. You are not lacking. You are not incomplete. You were born with the raw material to rise. What you must do is awaken it. Think about this. Every challenge you've faced up to this point, you survived it. Every heartbreak, every setback, every loss, every failure, you got through it. You are still standing. And if you really look closely, you didn't just survive, you grew. You became stronger, sharper, wiser. That's proof that you are equipped. Proof that even when the storm comes, you carry inside you the tools to endure and transform. The problem is that most people don't trust themselves. They trust the map, they trust the mentor, they trust the process. But when it comes to their own intuition, their own inner compass, they hesitate, they second, guess, they surrender their power to the outside world. But the most powerful breakthroughs in your life will come not from copying someone else's path, but from building your own, using the fire that's already inside you. You don't need to have every skill today. You don't need to have every resource today. What you need is the belief that when the moment demands it, you will find a way. That is the essence of being equipped. It's not about having everything now. It's about trusting yourself to rise to the challenge when it shows up. And history shows that you always do. Inside you are instincts honed by millions of years of survival. Inside you is creativity that has no limit. Inside you is resilience that has already been tested, whether you realize it or not. The question is not whether you have what it takes. The question is whether you'll believe it long enough to act on it. When you trust that you are equipped, fear loses its grip, because fear feeds on doubt. Fear whispers, what if you're not ready? What if you fail? But when you know, truly know, that whatever happens you can adapt, you can learn, you can fight, then fear shrinks. It has no power over the one who believes in their own capacity. This trust in yourself doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from recognition. It comes from remembering who you are, what you've already survived, and what you're capable of creating. It's about stepping back and realizing you've been through storms before, and yet here you stand. What makes you think the next storm will be different? You will rise again, that's who you are. Most people never build this trust because they never test themselves. They avoid the fire, they avoid the risk. They avoid the challenge, but here's the paradox. The more you avoid, the weaker your belief in yourself becomes. And the more you step into challenge, the more unshakable your confidence grows. You don't prove you're equipped by thinking about it. You prove it by stepping into the arena and fighting with everything you've got. When you stop waiting for the outside world to validate you, you discover an inner freedom that cannot be taken away. Suddenly, you don't need approval, you don't need permission, you don't need the map. You move with the deep certainty that you are enough, you are ready, and you will rise to meet whatever shows up on the path. Every time you trust that you are equipped, you expand your world, you open new doors, you shatter old limitations, you break free of the chains of doubt that have held you back for too long. And the beauty is, once you cross that threshold, you begin to realize there is no limit. You can grow endlessly, you can rise endlessly, you can create endlessly. You are not waiting to be equipped. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are not waiting to be ready. The tools you need are already inside you. They've always been there. They're waiting for you to claim them, to activate them, to unleash them on the path ahead. Stop searching for someone else's strength. Stop borrowing someone else's certainty. Stop comparing your tools to theirs. You are not supposed to have their tools. You are supposed to use your own, and when you do, you will carve a path that no one else could ever replicate. The moment you trust yourself is the moment you become unstoppable. Because the outside world can shift, circumstances can crumble, plans can fall apart. But none of that matters when your deepest source of certainty is not the map, not the plan, not the approval of others, but the unshakable truth that you are equipped to handle whatever comes. There is a dangerous myth that stops more dreams than fear itself, the belief that the road must be visible before you take the first step. People want the path to be clear, paved, and guaranteed before they begin. They tell themselves, once I know exactly how it will unfold, then I'll move. But life doesn't work like that. The truth is, the road does not appear before you walk. The road is built because you walk. Every step you take lays the stone. Every action you commit shapes the direction. The path is created in motion, not in waiting. Think about any great creation in history. Businesses, movements, inventions, revolutions. None of them began with a perfect map. They began with a bold step into the unknown. The creators didn't see the entire road. They trusted that if they started moving, the path would reveal itself one stone at a time. That is how all true journeys begin, not with certainty, but with action. Waiting for the path to appear before you move is like waiting for the river to stop flowing before you swim. It will never happen. The current of life never pauses for your hesitation. It only carries forward those who dive in. The moment you step into motion, the water carries you somewhere new. The ground beneath you shifts, and suddenly the direction becomes clear. Not because it was there all along, but because you had the courage to move. Most people never experience this truth because they're trapped by the illusion of readiness. They say, I'm not ready yet. I need more time. I need more knowledge. I need more preparation. But readiness is not something you wait for. Readiness is something you create, and the only way to create it is by walking into the unknown and figuring it out along the way. Every step you take, no matter how small, builds momentum, and momentum is the architect of the path. One bold move leads to another. One choice opens the door to the next. The path doesn't appear in front of you. It expands under your feet as you keep moving, and the more you move, the clearer it becomes. The mistake so many people make is thinking they need to see the entire staircase before they climb. But you don't need the entire staircase. You only need the first step. Once you take it, the second reveals itself. Then the third. That is how the path unfolds. That is how you build the road while walking it. When you embrace this truth, you break free from the paralysis of perfection. You stop waiting for the ideal conditions, the perfect timing, the flawless plan. You realize that progress beats perfection every single time, because perfection is a fantasy, but progress is real. Progress builds the road brick by brick, and before you know it, you've traveled further than you ever imagined. Walking into the unknown requires courage, yes. It requires trust, yes, but it also requires vision. You may not see the entire path, but you can feel the destination. You can feel the pull of the place you want to reach. That vision acts like a compass. It doesn't give you the whole map, but it keeps you moving in the right direction. And as long as you keep moving, the path will keep unfolding. Sometimes the path you build will surprise you. You may start in one direction and discover something better along the way. That's the gift of creating as you go. You are not limited to a single plan or a rigid structure. You are free to adjust, free to pivot, free to expand. The road is alive because you are alive, and it changes as you do. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know how it will end. You just need to begin. Because beginnings carry a power that waiting never will. The first step is the spark that ignites momentum, and momentum is unstoppable once it grows. Imagine standing at the edge of a foggy forest. You can't see the exit, you can't see the trail, you can only see a few feet ahead. If you wait until the entire path is visible, you will stand there forever. But if you trust yourself enough to take one step, the fog shifts, then you see a little more. Step by step, the road appears. Not because it was always there, but because you chose to walk. That's what life asks of you, not perfection, not guarantees, not certainty, just motion, just courage, just the willingness to put one foot in front of the other, even when the outcome isn't clear. Because life rewards action, not hesitation. Life builds the road under the feet of the brave, so stop waiting for the path to show up. Stop holding your breath until everything makes sense. Stop delaying until the plan is perfect. The road you're waiting for isn't out there somewhere. It's inside you, waiting to be built, and the only way it appears is when you finally decide to walk.